Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PowerPoint Codex. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before I start, I'm just going to say the thing. Please, if you're enjoying what I'm doing here, like and subscribe, share the content. It's great to be able to actually see some traction and get some great feedback from people. Today's session, I just want to talk about something which seems kind of ordinary, innate, boring, but interesting all the same, I think, from a technology point of view. The concept of taking a screenshot of a PowerPoint slide you develop versus exporting the actual slide itself. I use this capability quite a lot. Sometimes I use PowerPoint for features or as a tool to do more than just give a presentation. Quite often, I will use PowerPoint to help me create headers in emails and create imagery that helps to attract people into reading an email. So as an example, let's go through here and do something along the lines of creating a new slide. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the background to a yellow color. So let's just do a solid fill and do a yellow color. And I'm going to let's take this image of our cheese, paste that on, and we might add in some text which says the cheese report, and let's just make that big and bold, make it red, bold, and we'll go ahead and actually put that on here. Now, very basic sort of a design, but I'm not utilizing this specifically for my PowerPoint presentation. What I want to do is use this as a header inside email. So what I can potentially do here is go up and say File, Export. Now, unfortunately, you can't see this because this is happening off screen, but you'll see the export here. And I want to go ahead and take this as a ping, hit export, and this will go ahead and actually save this to my downloads. So I'll drag this out onto the screen here. And so what you can see here is our image, which has been exported from the actual PowerPoint. Now, what I can do at this point is go through and put this into an email. So let's just minimize that a little bit. Come over to our email, and I might add in here a table. I'm going to center the table itself, and inside here I'm going to insert a picture from a file, and I want to go to downloads. Actually, it's on my desktop. Where am I looking here? Desktop. Here's that slide, and so once it's in there, I can use that as a header in my report. So welcome to the cheese report. And I think you kind of get the basics, right? It gives you the ability to build up a interesting sort of eye-catching header to your email instead of saying at the beginning, to whom it may concern, or dear, or whatever. But you use PowerPoint as that design tool to be able to create something which will capture someone's eye when they open up that particular email. I use it very, very often for communications to people in my team, the greater organization, and things like that. But what was interesting to me is that sometimes you sort of see people go through and take a screenshot versus a export. And I was interested in what the actual difference of that was. So just to sort of show you what I think is kind of interesting here, if I come over and have a look at our cheese report slide, and let's say, for instance, instead of doing an export, I did a screenshot, right? So I go through here and take a screenshot of that particular image. And you can see I've captured that in the screenshot tool. When I hit done, that creates for me a file. So you can see here's the screenshot and here is the export. Now, on the surface, when we look at both of them, right, they don't necessarily look any different, right? So we can go through here, we can scale this one down in terms of size, right? Side by side, they look pretty much the same sort of thing. Maybe the dimensions might be a little bit off, because one was a export from an application, one was a manual selection. What's interesting here, if I go into information and have a look at this is our screenshot. It takes up 327 kilobytes. If I go to the export, what this shows me is it takes up 173 kilobytes. So these numbers aren't necessarily super massively big numbers, right? I mean, who thinks about kilobytes these days? Most people are talking about gigabytes, terabytes, exabytes of data. We're talking about 327 kilobytes versus 173 kilobytes of information. But what's interesting is that if you think about how this might go into an email that you send to people, or it might go to a something that you go ahead and actually share, at scale, this starts to multiply, right? So let's say, for example, I sent an email to 100 people within my organization. That's 327 times 100. That's going to be around about, 32 megabytes of data? I mean, what if this was even bigger, like a much more complicated image, which had more graphics and things like that? We know that that image as a screenshot would be much, much, much more. So we're still getting the similar levels of fidelity, right? If you look at the resolution, we're looking at 1400 by 816 versus 1200 by 676. At least with the export, your export resolution size or your dimensions are going to be consistent because you can set those. With a manual screenshots, it's going to be a little bit different, right? Because you have to try and actually work out how it looks. So you might be all over the place, right? 1460 by 816 doesn't give you any sort of standard uniformity. The other things that are interesting, color profile is a bit different. It probably doesn't matter to too many people. But there is a difference, obviously, when you look at this and sort of say, you know, is it a screenshot versus an export? An export is obviously giving you an optimized image to use within those emails or other ways that you want to go ahead and actually share. There's also another way, I guess, you could look at this. And if we go back here to the PowerPoint here, and I would say maybe we can go ahead and actually select all and save this. Let's try this again. Select it all and save as an image. Save as picture. And we'll go and put this into the downloads. Let's bring this up. Well, this one doesn't necessarily give us the right outcome because it doesn't capture the background, right? But what's also interesting about this one, if I go through and have a look at the info on saving this as a picture, this is 1.7 megabytes. And yet we're capturing less information than we did in the actual colored ones as well. So that one almost seems even less optimized. It's kind of funny. If you do go through there and do save as picture versus export, your export, which captures more, has less file size than selecting individual elements and doing a save as picture. It's still a ping image, but the resolution in this particular one, I think what you can see here, the resolution is much, much, much higher. But you're probably going to go ahead and actually scale this down. So, you know, I still think the exporting of a slide is going to be the most optimized way. And another thing which I think is beneficial as well, sometimes you might be looking at a series of images from the PowerPoint you want to be able to go ahead and actually share. And if you did screenshots, you'd have to go slide by slide by slide, select each individual one, copy it and go back. You might get it wrong, you might have to go and do it again. One of the things you can do inside PowerPoint is if we go through here, I can go back to that file, export, and instead of PDF, I can do ping. And I have the option of save every slide versus current slide. So if I do every slide and hit export, what this will do is it will create a folder, I'll put this here, of all the individual slides you had. So there's our cheese report image there. If we go through here, here's some of our images of our cheeses. So you could go through here then and export that whole presentation as a series of pings and choose what you want, but be able to utilize them in the way you want. So, interesting sort of viewpoint, probably a little bit sciencey, projecty, but certainly if you're utilizing PowerPoint as a design tool to help you use it in things like emails and things like that, definitely have a look at utilizing the export feature versus the screenshot feature, because you're going to get an optimized image every single time from a size and a capacity point of view, and the resolution and the appearance, you're still winning out. So ladies and gentlemen, hope that was useful. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, please like and subscribe, and thank you for being an active participant here on the PowerPoint Codex. Thank you.